Let's go!
He was that kid responsible for calls from irate parents fuming because their now terrified children had watched horror movies at his house. He didn't see the issue. He loved these films, even if he was only in the second grade. Little did Chad Archibald know his passion would later become so much more. While in college, he and some buddies had a random idea. Let's make a film. A seasoned producer warned him not to waste his time. Chad chose otherwise. Now Chad's horror films are known worldwide, scaring records amounts of people and credited for one of the most epic falling ovations ever. Don't know what a falling ovation is? Tune in and find out. Ladies and gentlemen, Chad Archibald.
Straight out of the T-Dot.
That's what it is.
Live from the 6 boroughs.
Don't go nowhere.
For sure. Welcome to Standing in the 6 with your hosts Michael and Constantine.
Tim Curry?
Yeah, Tim Curry's role. But I forgot. Darkness. That's what his name. I've always been infatuated with darkness, as crazy as it sounds, and I'm by means a guy of the light. But I mean, I've always been infatuated with that industry, or that culture, and I've loved movies that Stephen King put out, for example, like Christine and
Pet Sematary.
All those, by the way, are really good horror movies. I don't know how they do in Rotten Tomatoes, but it's very hard to find a good horror movie out there. So I've always thought if I could ever tap into an industry, I'd love to be part of the horror industry, because I feel that I could, bring some creativity to something quality.
Is Little Shop of Horrors a horror movie?
I mean,
remember that?
I've never seen that movie.
You haven't seen that?
I don't think I have.
Oh man, 80s. Gremlins,
yes, but that would be considered horror. I think they'd be more like sci-fi.
Yeah,
something like that. But when I found out that you were in a horror movie, I'm like, oh, here we go. This is the cheesecake with the cherry right now.
There you go. Thriller/horror movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was actually a really cool film. We got to film in Northern Ontario, where it's not warm.
Right.
And we did it actually about a year ago. It was a year ago that we filmed, and pretty crazy story. I'll just say this. They did a kind of really cool spin on this one, where there's a gentleman who, you know how if there's a crime, you have a cleaner?
Yes.
You have someone who cleans up?
Yeah.
In this story, if there's actually already deceased individuals, this gentleman, he basically, he erases the evidence, meaning the bodies.
Right.
And he has a reputation. People drive out to their farm, and he basically, he does his work at the farm and gets rid of these bodies by different means, chopping, putting them in acid, to decompose. The funny thing about it is that he has his 12-year-old daughter that lives with him, and this is everyday life for her. That's what her dad does. He works from home. He works remotely from home.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
And his daughter is his unofficial assistant. So just kind of a twist on fatherhood and that dynamic of you do anything for your child.
Right.
In the midst of that grim occupation.
Well, watching that movie, and now there's TIFF, and this one is called something.
Fantasia,
which is the horror film version of TIFF, I guess, right?
Yes, which is huge. It's in Montreal every year. It's it's kind of like the main genre film festival. Yeah,
I really enjoyed it. And I'm not just saying this because you're a friend of mine, and I'm not just saying this because the guest is coming here. I really enjoyed that movie. It had a good beat to it, and has it made it on any of the streams like Netflix?
We're gonna find out progress on it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been doing well. It's doing really well.
Right. Well, look, I mean, I can't wait to see this because he's actually done a lot of other good work.
I'll talk on Chad. So Chad Archibald, he's a producer and a director. What's amazing about him and his crew at Black Fawn Films and Distribution is they find a way to get things done really quick. As far as I know, they did a lot of music videos, and they did even some commercials. And in those type of shoots, you have to work really, really, really fast. Some film shoots move incredibly slow.
Right.
That whole hurry up and wait, if you've ever heard about it or been on a set. With these guys, they just get a lot of things done really quickly at a high output level. So they're loved by people in the industry. They're just incredibly efficient. It's amazing.
Now, being in the industry, Mike, as an actor, I mean, for me, I've been exposed to what you're talking about, where hurry up and wait. Man, I don't know how you guys do it. Just being on set and just waiting for the guy to come in and fix the light and redo this or redo that. And it's very annoying to me.
It's an
Yeah.
like it's tedious.
Right.
There's an element. I guess you're building it because if you get it wrong, it's forever imprinted in that film. Like you
Right.
can't get away from it. There's no way, there's no way to kind of fix it. If
Right.
There's if Jack, the grip, is standing in the shot eating a donut and you see his reflection in the mirror in the bathroom.
Right.
I guess they have ways to take Jack out, but
Yeah.
the goal is to get everything right, and that's why it takes forever.
Okay.
But again, these guys at Black Fawn, they just they have an 8-picture deal with Breakthrough Entertainment. I think they just had a 12-picture deal for this year as well. They get a lot done, and I can't wait to ask him questions. There's some people, I'll give you an example. They spend their whole life trying to get a film off the ground, to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
When it's done, nothing happens. Okay? I remember being at TIFF for the first time. I had a producer who got me an industry pass to be at TIFF, and they had this producing forum. There's 600 people in the room, and the moderator says, "So you've made a film. Now what?" And the room literally, everyone just kind of like looked at each other. Like it's like when a teacher says, "Okay, who did the assignment on the weekend?" That extra assignment.
Yeah.
So like literally, because you put all your effort into your art, but also neglecting the commerce side, the business side.
Right. Right.
What Chad and his team have been able to do is make another movie and another movie, and he's made 20 films.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
So I'm actually curious just to kind of get into what is he doing, or what is he doing or what is he not doing? It's something about like going after doing a huge project. It seems like to make a movie, like where do you start? How do you get it done?
Right.
These guys do it like, they do a movie a month essentially.
Well,
So,
before we find out, Mike, do you have a favorite horror movie?
oh, that's a good one. I don't know. I wouldn't say horror. Maybe Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, that's a classic.
How about you, Pat?
I like The Witch that came out not too long ago.
Wait, The Witch. Like
Witch.
the Royal Dahl's Witch? Like where they turn into mice?
No. This is like some weird like TIFF indie film I saw.
The Witch.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's like it's slow paced, old English kind of talking, but then it ramps up near the end. It gets really nice.
There you have it. I'll tell you what, two of mine that one of them is a Stephen King classic. Well, The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness.
And also The Exorcist are two of them that basically were like for a horror movie to impact me, I have to think about it and it dwells in me. And there's one effect that they do in horror movies that freaks me out to this day, and it's when the person starts spazzing, like their head starts kind of vibrating like 300 times a second kind of thing.
Oh, that kind of
Yeah, and they
that
start coming closer, like The Ring, for example. Oh my goodness, that
Yeah.
freaked me out. But anyways, yeah,
Remember that, okay?
yeah, exactly. There's the effect.
Production note.
There we go.
I remember for me watching when they came out, I had a lot of older cousins. Older cousins watch movies. They couldn't care less. I was 3, I was 4. I saw The Shining when I was 4 years old, and
Wow.
I remember standing behind the couch in their basement while they're watching.
Wow.
And I thought I was a smart 4-year-old trying to see like what are they watching? I'll never forget. Like I was petrified.
Isn't it funny?
I watched the whole movie at 4 years
Wow,
old.
man.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. Like that's insane, man.
Yeah,
There's
that
a lot
might
of
be-
imagery things in there that
it's
are
crazy.
messed up.
Even like Jaws. I remember when Jaws came out. I watched Jaws before I was maybe 4 or 5 years old too. So like even like any water where I could not see. I mean that's
Yeah.
for anybody. Right?
Wow.
'Cause that's such a crazy film.
Wow.
I got scared in E.T.
Okay, now you're
True
losing
story.
me. Now you're losing me right now.
I actually,
okay.
true story. I was 3.5 or so. I saw it in the theater.
Right.
I'm okay to say this. I'm a grown man right
Okay.
now. Okay, this is coming from the Michael Reventar vault.
Yes.
So we were in the theater. We're watching E.T. And when Elliot, he hears a noise.
Yes.
And he goes outside of the house, the
Yeah.
creak of the door, and he ends up on the driveway. And it's not even a driveway. It's more like dirt because it's so rural. And then he hears kind of like a noise like in the grass.
Right.
Tall greens. I'm not sure if it's corn stalks, but it's green. And all of a sudden, E.T. pops up in Elliot's flashlight, and they have like a. Okay, so listen, I've never seen an
Sound like
alien.
Gremlins almost
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I got
Oh,
really
my
scared.
goodness.
I couldn't settle down for the rest of the movie. So my mom took me out of the theater, and she was calming me down, and she said she was trying to think, what should I do with them? Because that's early on in E.T.
Yes.
Okay, and she looked at an adjacent theater, and guess what was playing? Annie.
That was your movie.
So Annie was playing. So she said, okay. She brought me in there, and I guess she said that I love the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
what a difference. Like that's.
But I've
truly,
watched ET now.
Hold on.
I've watched ET and I love ET. I've even watched it with my kids. Yeah, I've watched ET. Okay.
I find kids are more desensitized today to anything than what we would have been as kids.
I know.
You know what I mean?
It's
But
different. But we drank out the hose, so we're true G's.
There you go.
All right, man.
Yeah,
That's it.
hose drinkers.
Okay.
All right. Well, look, we got Chad Archibald in the house, and let's
Yeah.
bring him in.
Okay, Chad. Oh, look there. He's crawling in on the ground.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, he's doing that strobing thing right now.
Let's go.
We have the wonderful Chad Archibald here today.
Let's start again. Chad.
What did I say?
Yeah, there was an R in there somehow.
Really?
Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna let you say this, Mike. Then
No, you're good.
You just destroyed my confidence right now. We got Chad Archibald here in the house.
Yeah, yes.
Very happy that you're here.
Me too.
I'm very excited because you touch upon a genre that we spoke about earlier that is true to my heart.
Yes.
I mean, I don't want to sound psychotic right now, but like, oh, this guy really loves
True to your heart.
true to my heart.
So not the rom-com. Yeah. And the genre is...
horror genre. And I mean, would you say everything that you do is classified as horror, or would you say there's a degree that sometimes could pass into like sci-fi? Because we were talking about
You mean
Gremlins.
everything? Do you mean everything as a filmmaker, or everything he does, like the way he brushes his teeth?
Well, yeah, everything. Yeah,
There's just
yeah, like in the filmmaker mode.
You know what's funny? I've done a ton of films over the years. I've produced a ton of films as well. Most of the stuff that I've directed is horror. I've also done genre love stories, and the most recent film that we did, I'll Take Your Dead, is like a kind of crime thriller. It's got horror elements, but it's funny because I actually just love making horror movies. But over the years, we've produced some action movies. We did an action movie with Trish Stratus years ago called Bounty Hunters. We've done tons of stuff. We started off just doing indie horror movies because we loved horror movies, just going out in our backyards and making something and seeing if anyone will ever watch it. Didn't really matter to us. But
the backyard boys just putting something together.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what it was?
Yeah.
A lot of ketchup.
It's about 25 films ago, but yeah.
Really? Oh, amazing. I'm always curious, the horror genre. Has grandma or grandpa brought you aside and said, Chad, okay, wait, can't you make something with a little bit more sensibility? I don't know, I'm just curious.
That,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Always happens. Everywhere I go, I have family members asking me when I'm going to make a movie that's not,
they kind of grab
guts in it for sure.
Exactly. They kind of grab your hand and they just have a little side conversation.
The one thing about horror movies, I mean, it's a genre that I actually quite follow. I was telling Mike earlier that, I mean, when I'm at home and I want to watch a movie, I'll go on Netflix and I'll just start searching the horror section, and I'll start running through the titles and trying to find something that is decent. Yeah. A lot of times you can't even follow the ratings because horror movies also get judged on a very different criteria, right? But the one thing I can kind of follow in trends is that it doesn't take you can do a pretty decent horror movie without a crazy Hollywood budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why horror works so well in the independent world, is just that you don't need giant stars for it, right? Because it's all about concept. It's like the one genre that's it's all about concept. So if I told you, there's a concept about a ghost in a house and there's a bunch of kids or whatever, and it's trying to get in one of their bodies, whatever. It's like when you talk about a horror film, it's like it's all concept. As long as it sounds scary, someone will say, "Oh, cool, I'll watch that."
No,
whereas
that's the hook. That's the hook. That's what it builds the intrigue.
But you said something about actor, not getting a big actor. How did you get Mike? Because I mean,
I know.
Sometimes we luck out,
I was going to be like, okay.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. We were coming back from LA, and he told me about this. I mean, he kept it a secret. He said, "I'm in this movie," and I knew of After Dark. I just never connected it to actually come out to it. I mean, I usually crash around 10 o'clock at night, so I'm never really watching these films. But when I saw it, I really enjoyed it. And obviously as a friend of mine,
it's such a good movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie, and it doesn't have because the horror movies have like a cheese element, right, as well, which is fun. You know what I mean? But it didn't really have that. Actually, when you classified it as thriller / what did you say?
like a crime thriller.
Crime,
kind of thing.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would really classify it if I was watching.
I never ever actually called it that. That was just after people started reviewing it. That's how they kind of
Really?
described it, and I was like, interesting.
Yeah, I would have put it right in that horror section, right? But when I saw Mike in that film and the overall, I was very, very impressed with it, and I actually, it's something that I thought would be great to actually see on the big screens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we've done so many films over the years. We signed a deal with Breakthrough Entertainment a couple years ago to do 8 films with them. And for us, just as, you know, indie filmmakers, that was a big deal for us. They're all like fairly low budget, but we got to keep making movies, which is what we love to do. And the challenge has always been like creating something new and different, right? It was like in 4 years coming up with all these films. The majority of the concepts are me and my business partner and, you know, the team that we work with, kind of creating the concepts so that we wouldn't end up going and making 8 films that are all the same. You know, it's like we're obviously confined by budget, so it does limit us as far as what we can do. You know, we generally need pretty small crews and pretty contained locations and whatnot to kind of achieve these on the schedule. But it's been a challenge, but it's been really fun kind of creating these movies that are always different. And with I'll Take Your Dead, we wanted to do something that was had a little bit more heart to it. We've done a lot of non-union cast-wise films, and with those, it's like the studio's always kind of like, you know, don't like, just make sure you limit your like huge dialogue scenes or like massive performances that are, you know, gonna really take like a really seasoned actor or actress. So I mean,
no heavy lifting.
no, yeah,
basically, right?
So really concept heavy stuff and like, you know, have fun with the gore and the effects and stuff like that we really love to do. But with I'll Take Your Dead, we saved that one because we knew we had to go with a union cast and kind of ramp up the talent a little bit. Not that the people that were in our other films aren't amazing. Some of them have gone on to do, you know, awesome stuff. We worked with Michelle Milet, who's in Letterkenny and a ton of stuff right now. But we did her first 3 films, and then and now she's killing it. But I mean, we've worked with tons of people. Nina Kiri, who's on Handmaid's Tale now. But with I'll Take Your Dead, we had a young actress, we had an older man, and just a bunch of people. It's, you know, pretty dialogue heavy, and it's really a character piece.
Right.
Shout out to Ava Preston and Aiden Devine.
Yeah.
They killed it.
Very good dynamic.
Yes.
Very good dynamic.
The father-daughter in that
Oh
movie is
my
amazing.
goodness, man. How old is she?
Don't say. 'Cause you have to see the
you're not
film.
allowed.
Don't say.
Really?
Yeah, this is
Okay.
the film industry. You don't ask
She plays 13 in the film.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actors, they have an age range.
Well, I mean, I think when was it Joel? When he was in Sixth Sense, was he like 15, 16?
Was he?
No idea.
No, but probably.
You never know,
yeah.
right?
There's a thing
Like
with child
scream.
actors. They're usually like
They're
late
older.
teenagers. Speaking of, I watched for the first time with my kids Back to the Future. We kind of like each weekend we look
Back to a movie from your collection.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that. I
Excellent.
love those films. So we did Back to the Future 1, 2, 3, and Michael J. Fox. I'm gonna look it up. I guaranteed he was like 31,
Yeah.
like when they started filming. He's supposed to. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, when I saw Elijah Wood for the first time, this is when I was a fan of the film festival, and I actually saw him at a premiere. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy truly is Frodo in Lord of the Rings. How short he was. I couldn't believe it. Like, he was like, I think 5'1", I think.
What did you mean by a fan of which festival? TIFF?
TIFF. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I was,
And he said that just to clarify, you're still a fan of it, but they're one of your clients. So that's
TIFF is one of our clients. So this is, I mean, I haven't actually been in TIFF and experienced it for probably, I would say 15, 20 years now. So it's always on the other side of things right now, with the security side of things.
Gotcha.
But when I was, I mean, I remember that vividly, thinking, wow, this guy's so short.
Yeah, I went to Spain to SIT6 Film Festival. It's like one of the biggest genre film festivals in the world. It's gorgeous over there. We had a film playing over there, and I saw Vince Vaughn for the first time.
He's
And-
tall.
Yeah, he's huge. He's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
6'6" or something,
Yeah.
and he's
Whoa.
like
Yeah.
a broad dude too.
That's
Like,
right.
he's massive. And I actually, me and the director of a movie called Night of the Virgin, which
Okay.
is like, I don't know, it's for horror fans. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to go into details.
Night of the
We didn't
Virgin.
discuss censorship on this, so I won't go into the details of what that
Nice.
is, but it's a film from Spain. And me and the director have become good buddies, but we had an interview set up with Dread Central, and they just had us interview each other instead of them interviewing each one of
Ooh,
us.
that's
And it
cool.
was really fun because it's like, I love their film, they love the film that we had.
Yeah, you can talk shop too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kind of like, and we got really into it. We were in kind of like the like just the open area in the backyard kind of behind this hotel. And we were really into it. And a guy stopped us during the interview and said, guys, can you just keep it down? And we were like, oh, sorry. And he's like, Vince is trying to do an interview beside me, and Vince Vaughn's sitting beside me, and the guy's like this, and he's just like so pissed at me.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a story.
So we kind of went, oh, Okay. All right.
You can actually say Vince Vaughn doesn't like you. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. As long as you got the love of mama.
That's
I want to
how I
ask you, Chad, how did you get into the film industry? Kind of what was your, like, not even, I don't mean from work-wise, like when you were young or whenever it was, like when you just made that decision that you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to pursue.
I mean, for years, like ever since I was a kid, I loved horror movies. That was something that I think my mom at some point realized that, like, I watched a horror movie and I was really into it.
How young?
Okay.
How young would you say?
Phew, I thought you were going to say
grade
that.
2, grade 3 kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
He just told me he watched Shining at the age of 4.
Four, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty, morbid.
When you brought up your mom, I love that word. Monday mornings, the word of the day is
Morbid.
okay,
Morbid Mondays.
perfect. Yeah, when you brought up your mother, I thought you were going to say that your mom instilled this love of horror. Okay, go on.
No. They were like, my parents weren't big horror fans or anything like that, but it was something that kept me quiet, I guess. So they were like, okay, well, we'll just like put some horror movies over here, and if he watches them, we're in the other room or whatever. But I definitely got in some trouble when I was young, having like friends over and they'd watch a horror movie with me, and like the next day, like their parents would call up and be like, they didn't sleep all night. How would you ever show them that?
Yeah,
but it was something that I
they're
really
slithering
loved.
on the ceilings.
Yeah.
Why is Timothy up?
And I used to draw all the time and stuff, and I was we had a little like VHS rental store by my place.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom kind of went in and said, like, there's some days, because she worked nights, some days where I'm not going to be able to come in and rent some movies, but I want to get them, so my son's going to come in, so he's allowed to rent restricted movies or whatever you want, just so you know I've signed the paper or whatever. So I'd just go in there whenever I wanted and just rent whatever horror movies I wanted. No restrictions at all.
Whoa.
And I just like hang out and watch them. So it was something that I always loved growing up, but I never really got into film. Like, I wasn't like, I want to make movies. Like, this wasn't like, I kind of grew up without, a definite course in life as far as like what I wanted to do.
Yeah, but you enjoyed them. You knew you
for
thoroughly
sure.
enjoyed them.
And I know, like, I got a home video camera when I was younger, just like a little handy cam thing, and me and my buddies made skits and we filmed ourselves. I grew up in the country, so like there's really nothing to do, so it was just kind of fun doing that stuff, and I'd sit there with 2 VHSs and like try to edit stuff together. And I recently watched some of the stuff and was like, oh my god, I hope this stuff never gets out into the world. But it was a lot of fun. And it wasn't until I actually went to school. I went to Humber College for multimedia design, and it was more like graphic design, websites, stuff like that. And we had one film course, and it basically, let us rent out some cameras and taught us how to plug it into a computer. And this was like 2002, so it was like pretty
Big
primitive
difference.
back then.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
but
I just started renting cameras.
beyond 2 VHS.
Yeah,
recorders,
a little
yeah.
bit more. Yeah, a little bit more technology now. So we went and I got some cameras and started, screwing around with some friends. And one day, me and my buddy Gabriel Carrera, we were watching a horror film, and I think it was Jason X, and we were like, man, like horror films, you can just really do anything. We should totally make a horror film one day. And like a couple weeks later, we had a script. Like, we went out and bought Screenwriters for Dummies, the yellow books, and
Okay, hold on.
started writing this script, and it came out to like 140 pages or something crazy, and it's just horrible, right? And second draft, maybe we're like, all right, let's make a movie. So we went out and got filmmakers for dummies or whatever, the next book in the series, and we read it. And even back then, it's like there was no internet. There was like no YouTube or anything. Like I was like lucky to find a PDF of like it was like B&H or something like that, some like company that sells like film gear, and I was just like, look at this stuff, I don't even know what it is, it's just prices and pictures. And I was like, oh, one day I'm gonna get something like this.
Yeah, your Christmas list.
So we ended up going out and casting all of our buddies, like just our best looking friends, to be in the movie.
Yeah.
And like, but it was a big deal. We were in Guelph, Ontario, and no one had ever made a movie there.
Yeah.
And it just turned into this huge thing where it's like we were having these giant parties like to promote the film that we hadn't even started making. Like, we went out into like a barn on like a back road and filmed like a dude in a sheet fighting a guy with a shovel in a fur coat. It was like the stupidest thing ever. But that was my buddy Ryan Barrett. We'd gone to school since grade 1 together. So we went and we showed this trailer. Trailer was like, I don't know, like 2 minutes or something, or a minute and a half, and it's just like doesn't make any sense. It's got some cool text in it, and we had a big party with a bunch of bands at Guelph at a place called the Trashateria, which it doesn't exist anymore.
Trashateria.
Yeah, it was awesome though, a bunch of metal bands and stuff. So we went out and we ended up, there was people at that point. There was people stopping me in the bar like random nights, and being like the one guy that we cast, he stopped me. He came up and he started yelling at me about his girlfriend, and I was like sitting in this booth and I was like, what the hell are you talking about, man? And he's like, and he just lost it on me. He's screaming and everyone stops and like security comes over and whatever. Then he walks over and I'm like, dude, I have no idea who you are. And he goes, now you do, Ben McKenzie. He shakes my hand. He goes, I really want to audition for your movie. How is that? Or whatever. And I was like, cool, man. We start shooting next week. He's literally in the movie.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
We were
at that.
casting everyone.
I love that. Yeah, but that's bold. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing about Guelph, I mean, you have a lot of land, man. Just like you said, farms and stuff. It's a great, like,
Yeah, and everyone wants to help you there because it's like in Toronto, they see dollar signs when you say movies. In Guelph, it's like,
Right.
cool, that's fun, especially back then, right? No one had done it.
Yeah.
So we went out and we ended up making this movie. I mean, we had, like, we'd shoot at like schools with like generators. We had 3 lights. They were all the same light, 1K redheads. And so it's like it's like making a house with a sledgehammer, kind of. For us back then, it was like there's just 3 lights, it's
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, no diffusion or anything. It's like you just put them up and like move
Yeah.
them further
Or
away.
guys are
if you're
holding
too
it.
late,
Yeah,
right?
Right, yeah.
So we went out and we made this movie. We were planning on making it in about like, I don't know, 10 days or something like that, and it took years to make. We were clueless, right? And never even been on a set or anything. We filmed the whole movie without a boom mic.
Amazing.
Right? We were just like on camera audio, and eventually we got the movie done, and we showed it to someone in Toronto, and they were like, okay, cool, we can this is interesting, but like the sound's horrible. Like, where's your on-set sound? And we were like, well, it's on the camera. It's like built in, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, you need like an M&E track, like like dialogue, music, and effects. Like, you need to drop out the dialogue if you want to dub it in different languages, surround sound, all this. And we are like, okay. So I had to go back and I built a sound booth in my townhouse basement. It was unfinished. And in a program called Vegas Video, which is like, I don't know, it's like iMovie now.
Okay.
But Sony made it. And we went and I sat down and re-recorded every line of dialogue in the whole movie, every footstep, every piece of clothing. There's nothing in that movie that I didn't record in that booth.
Wow.
Start to finish took about 8 months. And again, this isn't like an audio studio. It's like, it's a video editing software, and I'm like recording audio and just trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
You just
right?
get it done.
But we got it all done, and then went out and we sold it to Lionsgate and Alliance Atlantis, and it played all over the world. I mean, it was horrible. I couldn't give it away these days, but back then there was Blockbusters or anything, right? So it's like, if you have a movie, they can instantly sell it to, I don't know, 100,000 different stores or something like that.
Yes.
So you could really sell anything if it was done and it had the right requirements. So we were pumped. We were like, this is amazing. Like, we got ripped off by, all the people who sold it. They just saw us as like kids. Like, oh,
Yes.
yeah. The thing about the film industry is like, if you let yourself get screwed,
Yes.
you'll get screwed.
will. Right.
That's
Yes.
like where everyone
it's
starts.
your
It's
it's
like,
your
"Can I screw
fault.
this kid?"
It's
Yeah.
your fault
Yeah.
they let you.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
it's a, learning curve or whatever, but it was also right as the internet was coming out and illegal downloading and all that stuff like that. And by the time we went and made our second and third film, the industry had just collapsed. Like, half the people that we had talked to for the first film didn't even have businesses anymore. Like, and the big companies were just buying everyone out because everyone just they saw like Blockbusters closing. They're like, okay, this is good. This is ending. Like, the time of like tons of money and tons of like huge value on films and stuff. They were like, it's over. We got to jump ship. So everyone was selling their companies, and it's just like over the next couple of years, it just like everyone was just trying to figure out how this industry could still exist. And I mean, even now, things are getting a little better, but it's nothing like what it used to be. It used to be something where it's like, you make a movie and you'd get rich. You'd buy a house. You'd do like rent. And now it's like people make movies because they love making movies.
Yes.
And distributors hold money like as tight as they can. It's like the filmmakers are generally at the bottom of the barrel as far as anyone actually getting paid. So it's definitely a challenge, and a lot of people in the indie world, they make movies because it's something on their bucket list, something they really want to do, and they want to make bigger movies. But the amount of people that ever make a second movie is insane, you know, or
Yeah.
a third movie or you know, whatever after that, because it's very, very difficult to survive as an indie filmmaker.
We were saying that earlier, where you meet a lot of people in this industry who all they're talking about is they're developing that first film,
Yeah.
or they've done it and it's gone nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay, you've made 20. Okay, so what would you say the difference is? You have a kid, he's 13, he has his iPhone and it shoots 4K. Okay, which is pretty crazy, and he goes, "I want to make movies." What's the one thing that you would tell him so that he would be someone who does versus someone who's just always talking about doing?
I mean, I try to think back as like when things changed for us, because originally I was so hooked on filmmaking. It was something that I was like, it came to me later in life, like I was probably 20. And it's like, once I started doing it, and I was like, I'd graduated college and we were making this movie. I was just so hooked on it. Like all I did was work on film stuff and learn about it and, go out. And it was definitely one of those moments where, and we had chatted about this earlier, where it's like, I really didn't have a path on life. And then whenever I found this, I was so grateful. And I was like, this is what I want to do. And I know it. And there's so many people I talk to, and even now that I talk to, that, they're not really sure where they fit or what they really want to do, and they don't really love something enough to really dive into it 110%. So I always felt so lucky, so blessed that it was like that I found something that I loved so much. So I mean, that was the first step, is just going out and doing it. But we went out and we were like, we're gonna make this movie, and there was like one person in Guelph that was like, I don't know, he was like a producer or something, and he had done some movies before, and we went over to his house. We tracked him down, went over to his house, and we're like, do you have any advice? Like, this is what we're doing. And the guy was like, don't waste your money, like go do some shorts. Like, what are you guys talking about? You've never done a short, you've never filmed anything, and you're talking about going out and doing a feature film with your own money on credit cards? And we were like, yeah. And he's like, you're gonna waste your money, it's gonna be horrible, don't ever do it. And we were like, we literally walked out and we were like, wow. I was like, I'd pre-ordered all this stuff on my credit card, like 12 grand and stuff. And I was like, then we were like, screw it. You know what? Who cares?
Yeah,
we're going
go
to do
for
this, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
and
it's not going to be horrible. It's going to be horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went out and we did it. So I mean, the first thing that I always say to people is try to go out and actually just do it. Like, it's and there's so many different factors to this, because I think about it all the time, and I do get asked about it all the time, because it is such a different world now than it used to be. I think the first thing is going out and doing it, but also, there's multiple facets. It's like, if you're going to go out and put your effort into something, really try to figure out a story that's different and unique, and don't sit there for like 5 years trying to come up with like the best idea. But like, when you find something but really put time into it. When you find something that's unique and you think stands out, do some research on it. If you think it's going to be marketable, because whatever you decide to do, it's going to be it's going to be a chunk of your life. Like, you'll always remember that era of your life. It's not like these things get done in a month, right? Mm-hmm. They take a year or more, So anytime you commit to something, it's like, it better be something that you're confident with it. After you're done it, you're like, oh shit, I probably should have worked on the script a little bit longer, or I should have did that other concept or something. But figure out something that you're passionate about, that you think's different, that's unique. If you do want to continue making movies in the industry, like, they do have to make money. They do have to go out there. They do have to sell. There has to be some sort of marketability to it, even if it's an artistic film, it's like, go crazy enough that it's unique, But try to find a concept, something that really, really stands out, so that when you are done it and everyone put all this effort into it, you can go somewhere and say, hey, take a look at this. And they go, that's different enough. I'll take that out. And the other thing I always say is, it really changed for us when we stopped making movies in our backyard and we started making them in the industry. I started coming to Toronto and meeting people, and I'd just like reach out I'd go on IMDb and figure out whoever, was the, production manager on some movie, or a producer on some movie or whatever. And I'd just like try to find their emails and email them and just say, hey, I'm just trying to get in the industry. I'd love to meet, any advice or whatever, and build your contacts, because there's so many people making movies these days that it's just a sea. Like film festivals, all that stuff. It's like, it's a sea of people coming in, and most of the time nobody watches your films. Like, there's just too many now. So it's like finding a way in, building a rapport with someone, as many people as you can, so that when you do have something, it might be like, oh, I know that person, and they'll pick it up and be like, I'll watch 5 minutes of this and give it a try, you know?
That personal connection.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's come down to, because there's just not enough hours in a day for people to watch all the films that people are trying to get distributed and trying to get out there. So, I mean, those three things, if that makes any sense.
No, it's good.
No,
I mean,
it's really good.
I mean, you spoke a concept of movies and coming up with a good idea and all. I mean, let's go back to 2015 when you came up with Bite, or you produced that. Tell me about that story, because that actually was very interesting to read, the effects of that movie.
Yeah, and that was a great example of it. It's like, so me and Cody, we are content creators. That's what we do most of our life. People look at us like directors, producers, whatever, but the most days of our life, we're sitting at home coming up with movie ideas. We try to go away once a month or so to a cottage or something up north, secluded, no internet, no anything, and we cover the walls in paper and we write down movie concepts.
A lot of fog.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Smoke
and we
machine.
just sit there and, we drink a bunch of beers and, we yell at each other and get in arguments and don't talk to each other for an hour or two. And then, then come back and we, work on all these movie ideas just to try to come up with that one. Because, after doing so many films, we realize that value of being like, if you're going to invest in something, if you're going to invest your time, like that portion of your life, it's got to be something that's good, that's going to stand out. That's like, we're not about just making a movie for the sake of making a movie anymore. I was when I started, because I was just so pumped to make movies. But we're at a point now where it's like we want to keep making movies. And in order to do that, we need great concepts. We know we can pull it together. We work with so many talented people. Jeff Mahar and Steph Copeland and Chris Giroux and a million other people that are so talented and work on our sets to kind of try to pull all these movies together, that it's our responsibility even to them, that it's like we're going to come up with something good and unique that stands out so that everyone's efforts can really go somewhere. When Bite came around, it was funny because it was right at the start of our slate of films, and we had talked to a guy named John Ainsley about a script called The Sublet. And things were moving so fast at that point that it was like we signed an 8-picture deal. We pre-sold them to Super Channel for just based on the work that we had done in the past. And we never even had titles or scripts or anything. And so we were like, okay, shit, the clock starts ticking now. How are we going to get all this stuff together? So we met a guy named John Ainsley, and he had a script called The Sublet. And from the day that we met him in a bar that he gave us a script, 3 months later, we were on set filming it. So it was happened like that.
Fast turnaround.
And while we were building the set for that, I came up with the idea for Bite. And it literally just started with, what if a girl got bit by a bug and started turning into a bug? And I was like, that'd be fun. That was literally how it started. And
Right.
So during production of the other one, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
were there a lot of bugs on the set of that previous
it
movie?
probably was. It was actually in an auto garage in Guelph. Like, we couldn't afford a studio or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like, so we went and there was like an auto garage that someone had just moved out of, and they were waiting to rent it to someone else. So we rented it for a couple months. So anyways, then it was like, okay, so that's kind of a hook, right? Girl gets bit by a bug, she starts turning into a bug. It's kind of like The Fly, but a female version. And it's like less scientific, it's more organic. But it's like, anytime we come up with a movie concept, we want to make sure that, here's the horror, but you should be able to remove all the horror from it, and you should still have a story.
Yeah.
Right? So what we did was, I came up with this concept that, she's not ready to get married. She's with her fiance, and he's really pushing to have kids and stuff. And she's like a lot younger, and she's like, I don't know if I'm ready to have kids. I don't know if I'm ever going to be a good mother. I don't even trust myself. I don't know, but I'm feeling pressured on it. But so she goes out on a bachelorette party with her and her friends to Costa Rica, and they find some weird lagoon thing, and they go swimming, and they end up she gets bit by this bug. So she comes home still having these issues with motherhood and whatnot. And she starts getting sick. And it happens pretty quickly. And she starts kind of having these visions a little bit and nightmares and stuff. And eventually she starts laying these eggs. And they're all these gross little gooey eggs. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of them. And
oh man,
how's she laying them exactly? I'm trying to visualize this right.
Do you want a demonstration?
I'm gonna
we
say
got a big enough.
She's laying them exactly how you think she's laying them.
All right.
Can we get another camera set up here? We're gonna do it.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, so she inadvertently just becomes the mother of tens of thousands of her children, right? And
Right.
she becomes like protective of them, and she starts like when people enter her house, and starts killing them, and she turns her whole house into this hive, and she just like becomes
Oh,
a
wow.
mother at that point. And it's funny because humans are the only people that really, or the only creature that really decides if they're going to have kids or not.
Yes.
All the other creatures in the world, they're just innately,
Instinct.
their
Right.
instinct is to reproduce so that, they can continue being a species. But humans make that decision. So it's like after this bug starts biting her, it's like that kind of, natural instinct kicks in, and she becomes, the
irony.
mother of all
Yeah.
these bugs.
That's amazing. I'm not sure if I'm ready for marriage, but
Here's a fast
I'll have
track.
10,000 kids. Yeah.
But it,
No,
but
there's
again, from that concept, it was like I had written that out while we were on the set of Sublet.
Okay.
Talked to Jamie LaForest, one of the guys that we had known for a while, a writer and a director. And I pitched him the idea, and I walked in and I pitched Breakthrough the idea, just like a shorter log line than I just said. And they were like, love it, let's do it. So I think 6 days later, I had a 20-page script. I sent it to him, or a 20-page treatment, sent it to him. And I think 6 days later, he gave me the first draft of it. And we wrapped the sublet, and 3 weeks later, we had taken the sublet set, which was an apartment, readjusted all the walls.
Wow.
And 3 weeks after the sublet, we started shooting Bite. It's like things were moving so fast like that.
I love that style.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why Constantine brings it up, we're privy to find out at the premiere of that screening, that worldwide premiere, ambulances were called. Okay.
Yeah.
Why were ambulances
Yeah,
called?
this is-
So
to
as
the
we were
Bite
making this
screening?
movie, we were like,
Where did this happen, by the way? Where was it screened?
At
Was this at Fantasia?
Yeah, Fantasia.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah, in
massive,
Montreal.
one of the biggest like genre
Okay.
film festivals in the world.
Which is awesome.
So, and it was our world premiere and everything. And while we were making the movie, we had so much fun because these eggs, like they were so gross, and we just had so many of them.
What were they made of?
So they were these
Like
little
they're eggs.
They were like, we found these things online called spitballs. They were like little pellets. You
Yeah.
put them in water and they grow into like just a little squishy ball.
Right.
And you spit them at each other or something like that. I don't really know. Anyways, so I was like, I got some of those, a little pack of them, and I tested it, and I was like, put them in a bowl of water, and it was in my bathroom or whatever, and I left for the night, and I was like, okay, we'll see if these work or not or whatever. And the next morning I came down, and they were overflowed the bowl, they were all on the floor, and I was like, amazing.
Perfect.
I called Cody, I was like, let's order 20,000 of these.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
And
So-
then 24 hours later, it was like Gremlins. They just started. Can you imagine? Hey, that's another concept.
Yeah.
Hey, right? I'm just saying.
Bite too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A guy orders off of Amazon spitballs, but okay, go on.
They actually grow into
Yeah.
something. So, oh yeah, the premiere.
Yes.
So we knew the
Ambulances.
movie was gross. We had so much fun making it, and there were so many gooey gross that we just had buckets and buckets of these eggs, and like they were always moving and dripping, and everyone had so much fun, and the whole set was gooey and gross. But we were there and we saw it, so it didn't really affect us. But we ended up having the world premiere, and because we knew it was gross, we were like, all right, we like to do like little, fun marketing things and stuff. So we printed off all these barf bags. They were Bite barf bags. So everyone in the audience got a barf bag just in case, in case anyone's feeling a little sick, right? Yeah. But during the movie, somebody actually puked
Oh my! And
right
there's-
beside one of our actresses, not in a barf bag, actually on the ground.
there goes the smell.
Yeah. And someone else got up and tried to leave, and they actually fainted and hit their head on a step on their way out. And then someone else got up, and like there was all this commotion going on, and
Wow.
it was funny. I was kind of like, I didn't really know what was going on. I was watching the movie, and I was kind of like, oh, come on, guys, it's like world premiere. It's like
Yeah,
really
yeah.
stressful watching your movie. It was like I thought people were just like screwing around or whatever, and like not paying attention, and like some people were leaving or whatever. But then at the end of it, the festival director, Mitch Davis, came up to me and he showed me his phone. It's like, as the credits were going, I was like, it's a big day. It's like sold out world premiere at Fantasia.
Right.
And he showed me his phone and he goes, dude, this is outside right now. And it was a tweet that he did that showed ambulances outside. And he was like, and it said like, person passes out hitting head. It's like, people are puking at this theater. This is happening at the Bite world premiere right now. And I was like, what? And it was, in horror they call
What a compliment.
they call this like a falling ovation.
Yes,
right?
which
It's
is-
like
what a great
it's a
term.
very compliment.
A falling
huge
ovation.
compliment.
Wow.
Yes.
So so it was, we went and we did our Q&A or whatever, but after that it was like nonstop. Like I was doing interviews, like I was probably doing like 10 interviews a day at radio stations, like just over the phone, like from here to Texas to wherever. And it just went viral everywhere online. It was so amazing for us in this tiny little film that we did. And the lead actress, Elma Begovic, she was so awesome. It was her first film that she had ever done, like as a lead. And she just went so into it every day. She had so much makeup on. She was covered in goo. It's like before every take, we'd fill her mouth with goo. It was always dripping, big contacts in her eyes. And, I was so happy for the whole cast and crew, everyone that worked on this film. I was so happy that it turned out to be something that worked out. But, and then we went all over the world, and, it played here, it played, Sitges, it played all over the place. And we were so happy with how it turned out, and it did such great things for us. But going back to the concept is like, when we thought of that concept, it was like,
just
click.
go.
Because there's actually, I read this at Breakthrough on someone's desk. It was like, I don't even know whose desk it was, but there's a,
but you were sitting at it.
I was sitting at
and
it.
enjoying it. Yeah.
But there was a little sign that said, a good concept is hard to come by, but easy to recognize.
Ooh.
Which I've always kept that in my mind, because it truly is. It's like when me and Cody are coming up with ideas, it's like, there's always like, sometimes, we spend a week on ideas and none of them are it. Sometimes it's like, we spend 10 minutes and it's like, boom, that's it.
Direct
that's
hit.
A good idea.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what we do. So
that's awesome.
Concept.
Who inspires you for for horror, for example, or even other creatives? Who inspires you to kind of go in your direction?
It's funny because it's like I find so much inspiration just from other filmmakers in Toronto.
Okay.
Just other people who are, trying to make something out of nothing. I look at, like, obviously there's films like Darren Aronofsky. I love his movies. He's always been a big inspiration for me, both visually and storytelling. And, the John Carpenters of the world, and like, all the classic horror filmmakers. But there's something about today's world and like the people who are making movies in it that I just feel like it's such a insane challenge to kind of keep going. And it's hard because there's definitely, over the years, there's been days where it's like, I think I should probably like pull the chute now and get out of this industry, because it's too hard. And, there's not always that much good news coming down the pipe as far as like where the industry is going. But I mean, then I look around and there's so many filmmakers who are just, in it to win it, and just keep fighting every single day. And if they can do it, then, hopefully we can do it too.
Mike brought up something about the little, giving advice to that 13-year-old kid that has his
14.
14. Okay.
But he is 14
So
now.
let me ask you this. You went to Humber College for, what was the program called?
Multimedia.
Multimedia film
design.
Multimedia
So
design
let me ask you
production.
this. For the kid, that 14-year-old kid that also wants to be a filmmaker, okay, do you feel that he can skip the step entirely from school and just go right into it? Like, do you feel what you learned in school actually applies to what you do right now?
The odd thing with what I did was I started doing all our own posters and our websites and stuff. And it's like back in the day, it's like, having a website for your movie means that your movie's real, right?
Yes.
So, and we had like some pretty awesome stuff. Like I was really good at my program in college. I wasn't like a great student leading up to it. But whenever I went to college, I loved it so much. I loved doing that stuff in graphic design and design in general. That, we always had such awesome stuff for our indie films that, that definitely helped us get out there and get noticed. But as far as skipping film school, I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I went to film school. I feel like that would be the funnest time of my life. Like not having to worry too much about, bills and surviving, and just being like, hey, go make a chase scene. It's like, all right.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go make a chase scene. So, I mean, I always, not that I regret not going to film school, but I always look at it and I'm like, man, if I won $1 million right now, I'd go back to film school just to go through it.
Because I guess it shows that you love the process.
Yeah.
You love the whole process of what it is. It's not just you make a film so you can make your money off the film, right?
Yeah, and I think that, so I mean, I definitely wouldn't tell people to not go through film school. Another thing in film school too that I've realized from working with a lot of people who've gone to film school is that, they really work on building connections with people. So even, a lot of the kids that we started working with years ago, it's like they're killing it now. And we met them because, Sheridan College came to us and introduced us, or Ryerson or something. And they, pushed to get them on set with us and doing, like a little co-op or an internship or something like that, which, when you're making a movie, you put so many hours in so quickly that it's like they basically come out, they help for a movie, and then they walk away. And, it helps. And our crews are generally so small that we try to be like, okay, well, what do you want to get into? You want to get into art? Let's put you on the art team, So, I mean, the context alone is something that I think, going to film school is a huge, it gets you started pretty quick,
Yeah,
That's good.
It can catapult some things happening. It does matter.
But the other thing is they also teach you a certain way of doing things. And I think that one of the strengths that Black Fawn has always had is that we try not to do what everyone else is doing. And that's kind of like the format that gets taught in schools is like, this is the way you do it. Then you join the union and you start as a PA and you slowly climb the ladder and whatever. But I don't know if it's because we never had that training at the start, but we've always tried to do things differently. And I feel like that's kind of why we stand out a little bit too.
Good. Break the mold. Be unique.
Absolutely.
Unique.
There's always a mold.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And then, then there's people who follow you, see your recipe and be like, oh, that's the mold. That's what you got to do. And you got to find a way to reinvent.
Right.
Just get it done. I think what's amazing about what you said at the core, you love the films, you love films, you love filmmaking. So you made a film. Like it's that simple. And then one led to the next and the next and the next. And it's almost like, it just was like a great cycle, Yeah, you found that cycle of productivity in it, I bring it up because we have a lot of conversations all the time with people about they want to do this, they want to change this in their life, they want to add this to their life, New Year's resolutions, and we hear it over and over. What we notice, the people on the field, they don't even have time to talk about it. They're just so busy, and I always relate it to sport. There's great analysts, and there's criticism and critique when you're on the sideline. That commentary of, I would have done this, or I'm not. That's not going to do it. That's not going to work, But when you're on the field, you don't have time. You literally huddle up and then you have to get to work. You got to get into the next production. You have to keep shooting. So it's almost like the smart person in you might have talked yourself out of what you're doing at some point if you had a lull or you listened to grandma and grandpa, right?
No, I definitely have. I mean, looking back, there's a ton of films that I've made in my early life that I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I needed to make those. I mean, obviously you learn things on your way, but I think we were just so excited to be doing it that we made our second film for $5,000. Like
Wow.
we literally, like the whole set was dressed. We shot it at our buddy's house and we dressed the whole set from the dollar store. Like that was just our deal. Dollar store. I bought one light. It was $2,300, and that was out of the $5,000 budget.
Whoa!
And all the cast came in, and they all just worked for free, basically, because they were like, "Cool, I'm just pumped to do a movie." And
they're just down.
And we worked around their schedule and all the stuff, and we just and then we edited it all for free, and we just put our own time and effort into it because we just wanted to do it. But it is about going out there, I think, and doing it. It's about the experience. I sometimes we interview a lot of directors and other filmmakers and stuff. And one of the things that always turns me off about directors coming into the industry is like, they have this idea that like, I'm the director and I have a vision and the vision is what I need to achieve. And, it's like this idea that they're like the director and that,
Yes.
that, it's their movie and whatever. Whereas like, we're more, like I always say we, I rarely say I, and every time I say I feel guilty about it because so many people work with us. And it's so collaborative, like I don't look at Bite and say like, I made Bite and it's my film and, my vision. And it's like, no, I mean like Jeff Mahar, like our DP, he's like the amount that he gives to a film. It's
He's
like,
amazing.
I often sit back and be like, man, I don't even know what I'd do without this guy. He's
Yeah.
just, like, and a lot of people say that in the industry. It's like, if you surround yourself with people that can make you do better. Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And because it really is a team. So, I mean, when directors come in and say, I've got a really good idea and I'm really looking forward to working with some talented people and I think you really achieve something. It's like, I hear that and I'm like, great.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's
Nice.
awesome. I have an incredible location. I don't know what your next movie is.
We're always looking for
But
locations.
I'll tell you, I mean, maybe it's so mainstream. One of our clients, Evergreen Brickworks. Have you been inside there?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
You have to check this place out. Like when I'm looking at, like there's certain elements, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
However, you change the lighting and they have these little pathways and undergrounds and like
Yeah.
pipes and it's the ideas, you can go nuts in there. I mean, when I look at them, like this would be perfect for a horror flick if they were
Yeah.
to do that. You got to check this place
Yeah.
out. Yeah, we got to
The
set
bo-
that
the
up.
Show me
bone-
some
the
photos
bone-
after.
The bones,
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
bones of that building are definitely rickety and
Oh man,
and ragged.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we'll
love
do-
that stuff.
We'll do a
just-
site
just
walk. We'll-
just really literally 10 minutes
Yeah.
from here, not even.
We'll grab a coffee there one day.
Yeah,
We'll
for sure.
Introduce you to the people
But
there.
but to segue into that, are you working on something else that you can speak about right now, or is something under wraps that you really can't talk about? Or
You know what? We're about to shoot a new movie, and we haven't actually announced what it is or anything.
okay, so don't
We
say.
know what it is.
Yes.
We talked about it a little
But you're waiting
earlier.
for you're waiting for some snow.
We're waiting for some snow, but also we'll be putting a press release in the next week, I think, with details on everything about it.
Yeah.
So it's a little hush hush right now.
Okay.
But we have I'll Take Your Dead, which is coming out in theaters in the U.S. in May.
Ooh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I was actually
Yeah.
asking him this. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay,
And,
amazing.
hopefully theaters in Canada as well.
Mm-hmm.
Limited release in both, but Shout Factory is putting it out in the U.S. and they're so awesome. They put out Bite as well, and there's just such an awesome team of people, and they love movies and they love special features and they love all the good stuff about
Right.
that we love about horror films.
One of our clients is Cineplex, so maybe we'll just
Hey, there we
accidentally
go.
send an email. There's a trailer that just pops.
Yeah,
you
there
know?
you go. Yeah,
Right?
So we
exactly.
Pat, do you do any hacking?
A little.
Okay.
just get it right
This
on the
guy.
marquee somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
We'll just put it in there.
Right.
But yeah, we're hoping for probably June theatrical release in Canada as well. We'll be pushing that. It's actually playing as part of the Blood in the Snow Film Festival tour in Peterborough on the 1st.
Okay.
And
You gotta love that name, Blood in the Snow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's
And
actually
then
beautiful,
it's,
Mike.
It is quite poetic.
and then it's playing in Kitchener on the 15th.
Okay.
At the Apollo.
Ooh,
As
nice.
part of Blood in the Snow as well. So
Okay, amazing.
both those two are probably the two last screenings that it'll have before it goes into theaters.
I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, are any of your films? Because I see a list of them as well that you can actually find like a stream like Netflix, or do you have to go digging really deep to try to find them right now?
They're on so many different platforms, in different territories. As far as
You have to create, you
the
have to
best
create
thing
your own.
Yeah,
you have
the
a
best
whole,
thing
you
to
have a
do
whole
right
library.
now
Yeah.
is we have our distribution company, Black Fawn Distribution.
Okay.
If you go to blackfawndistribution.com,
Perfect.
you can buy all our films, and like we do packages with all our films as well.
Okay,
and we
great.
also pick up other films that we love.
Okay.
We just released a movie called The Ranger, that played festivals all over the world, and it's just an awesome punk rock movie about a forest ranger picking off these shithead kids. But it's fun. It's so well done. Jen
Yeah.
Wexler is the director of it. She's great, and the whole team behind is awesome. So it's like, whenever we release something, we make movies through Black Fawn Films. We release movies through Black Fawn Distribution.
Okay.
So every time we release a movie, we do a package with it, because we're film geeks. We have collectibles all over, and
Right.
figurines and all that stuff. And so we always do a package. So it's like there's a Ranger package that has like an actual piece of the Ranger's bloody shirt, and so it's
nice.
like in a package and stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
he's a ranger, so there's like a beer coaster, and it's like if you plant it grows a tree. It's like help regain the forest from these shitheads who are
Yeah,
destroying
yeah.
it, and like
Yeah.
so we like to do fun stuff like that with all of our releases as well. So you can get them all there, and then very, very soon in Canada, you'll be able to stream all of our films from there as well.
Awesome.
Which is
Okay, good.
We haven't really told anyone yet, but it's
Okay,
something
well.
coming down the pipe.
Aha.
There you go.
You heard it here first.
What were you gonna say, Mike? Like,
That's kind of what I was going to ask. How does people take in your content?
Okay.
Ask you. I know a couple of months ago you went to LA, had a meeting with Netflix.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've recently, me and Cody and Breakthrough, we've been creating so much content and packages that we've again decided to, instead of just going out and making stuff ourselves, bring some other partners involved. So we went down and we met with Netflix and ITV and Newfoundland, like a ton of different companies, and just pitched some of the stuff that we were working on. And we've had such an awesome response from them, and it's really opened up like a lot of doors for us. And a lot of the stuff that we're doing now is like, have a meeting with Netflix and they're looking for this. So it's like me and Cody disappear for a week. We come up with all these concepts and packages and, make them look good and look books and everything. Then we ship them back. And, obviously it's a big process to go through to get something made, but
for sure.
That's definitely on the path that we're going right
That's
now.
awesome.
And we've got a lot of really interesting stuff and coming down the pipe, and it's a whole TV's a whole different world for us, right? We've always done film, where it's like you write a script, you go make it, and then you sell it.
Yeah.
Whereas like TV is kind of like you got to pitch it, basically someone's got to come on board before you make it. So it's different for us, but it's really exciting, and we got some really cool stuff coming down the pipe, and a lot of it that we'd be so pumped to work on and make out there. So
That's awesome.
Okay, nice. If you ever want to do anything crazy in a pitch, I'm down. I'm down.
Hey,
Oh yeah,
we'll talk.
yeah,
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, working with Mike, how difficult was it? With his needs and all.
No, Mike's,
Where's my wheatgrass juice? Can I get my wheatgrass juice, please?
It was so funny because Mike's like on camera, he's an intimidating guy, and very, very
On
talented.
camera, thank you for that. My mom would appreciate that.
But
Her Mikey.
Everyone who I talked to, and he was actually recommended to us by a ton of different people, and just said that he's such a talented professional dude who's he's so good at what he does, so easy to work with, and just has so much respect for everyone, other human beings in the world. And I mean, the moment that I met him, I knew that instantly, and working with him was such
That's awesome.
an honor. And
That's
I
awesome.
mean, I'm sure we will again sometime soon.
No,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
sounds good. Everything you said, Pat. If you can just take that, scribe it out.
I've already gone. I've already gone there.
I'm gonna get that T-shirt made.
No, that's amazing.
That's a nice long
Yeah, there you
T-shirt.
go, man. No, that's awesome.
Thanks, Chad. No, it
That's
was
great.
amazing working with Chad.
Absolutely. And for all those that are interested in watching any one of your movies, blackfawnfilms.com.
Yep. And Black Fawn Distribution.
And for those like Mike or myself, maybe that may not know how to spell fawn, is that
FAWN, like a baby deer.
Let me ask.
perfect?
Beyond film, what else? What are you looking to do? You've obviously done a lot, and you move quick. You can handle a heavy load. That's what's amazing. You guys are like the consummate. You're juggling, but you're also doing some heavy lifting at the same time. What is it that you want to do next? What are you looking at? Is it a totally different industry? Is there something you see something on TV, or that you read a book, or there's an article that stuck with you? You're like, man, I want to take that on.
You know what? Our biggest thing that we've always wanted to do is build Black Fawn Films into something, and Black Fawn Distribution into something. And years ago, I'm a very ambitious person, and I found from not knowing anything about film to diving into the film industry that if you want to do something, there's ways to do it. No matter where you are, if you can figure it out, there's the internet, there's people in the world you can talk to. There is a way to go out there and figure out what you want, how to do anything really. So at one point, we came up with a music magazine called Load Magazine, and we put so much effort into it, put out a print version of it, literally out of my bedroom, me and my buddies, and started shipping it right across Canada, and it was doing great. And unfortunately, it got to a point where it was doing so well that we had to make a decision because it was taking so much time away from Black Fawn Films, that we were like, what are we going to do? Are we going to do films, or are we going to do a magazine? And it got to the point where I was like, I got to hand off this magazine and kind of close the door on it and just focus on films, because that's what I really want to do. So, I handed that off, but it's truly something that I felt like, it would have been, I'd be doing it today if I still continued doing it and gave up Black Fawn Films. But since then, I really realized that, if I want to make something out of Black Fawn, and it's like, if our team is going to grow, and if, this is what we want to do, that we got to put all our full effort into it. So, I mean, really, like we live by this stuff every day. As I get older, I do appreciate, a weekend every so often, or just to hang out.
Oh, of course.
Whatever. But, up till now, it's like we do work all the time. Our hours are never, 9 to 5. It's like we wake up super early, we go to bed super late. Our schedule is like, we don't know what weekends or holidays are, because it's just things just land wherever they land, and you got to kind of roll with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, aside from that, I'm just, I love to travel. Me and my girlfriend, who's also in the film industry, we like to travel all over the place. That's probably one of the things that I love to do. And then, outside of that, I don't know. I always sit back sometimes and think, a breakfast place or a taco place. I'd be pretty happy, like in the back making breakfast in the mornings.
Nice.
That's
I like that.
I really something nice and simple like that.
Or renting mopeds off the beach in Costa Rica.
There you go.
And just making sure you don't get bit by a bug. Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all fictional Costa Rica tourism. Where, we just have to place the story somewhere. Bite.
Before we wrap, favorite horror movie?
Ooh. You know what? This always changes. Every time someone asks me, it changes. I love.
Maybe let's go old school and then one current. like
Okay.
in the last 10
Okay.
maybe years or so?
I loved Martyrs, the original Martyrs. Is a horror film that I always loved. It was always on my list. I mean, I hate saying like the old ones, like Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
you know, it's awesome. I love these. I
Jaws.
love those films so much. Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
But it, you know, and I really do. But it's like, you know, as a filmmaker, you always want to be like, oh no, something a little bit more obscure.
Right,
Let's
right.
dig deep into like, you know,
Yeah.
yes.
what's in there. But
Yeah.
you know, I'll watch that movie. I'll watch that movie any day.
Right.
As far as
Yeah, see?
new movies, as far as new movies, I loved Hereditary last
Okay.
year.
I didn't see
I
that.
thought it was so awesome. There's movies that, you know, a lot of movies doing horror films. It's like I look back at the 2013 Evil Dead remake, and it's like, you know, of all the flaws that it has, it's like, man, there is some awesome horror filmmaking in that movie. And the score is mind blowing, and I still like, you know, I look at things that happen in it, and
Right.
it's like that is just 100%.
That's good.
That's just a well done horror
That's
movie.
good. That's good.
And it's, you know, it's scary, it's terrifying, but it's still cool and fun, and like, I mean, you know, a Cabin in the Woods movie, it's hard to make that stuff
Yes.
anymore, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
I mean,
good.
you know, the
That's
Get Outs
good.
of the World and all that stuff. It's like, you know, they're all great. They're all really, you know, inspirational films.
Good. Good.
Any family sitcoms for television that you're thinking of taking on?
You know, we almost made a dog movie for Breakthrough last year. That was a
Really?
true story.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny because it's like, you know, we've always had this issue. Breakthrough's like, they're a great company. They do so many things. And for, you know, a long period of time, you know, they did some dog movies. They did some family movies and stuff like that. And they, it's always comes down to this. It's like, there's such a market for that stuff. Like the Hallmark movies in the world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, well, here you guys can make something for $10 that's a horror film, or you can have $100 and make this movie. And it's
Right.
always like, I'll do the $10 one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, can we do the $100 one, but like just not have our names on it? You know,
Right,
we don't want to
right.
destroy our street cred in the horror
Yeah.
community. But
Or you can just Bloody Beethoven.
yeah,
You know, something
yeah. Can we
I
do a
like
little
that.
mixer pack?
Mix
Yeah,
it up.
yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. Well, I'll stick to the horror side over the dog side. Yeah.
And we really will. But I mean, one of the things that we're doing is, you know, we do, we want to be a little broader. We want, we love doing horror films, but we love, you know, I think horror films moving forward, like a lot of them have way more heart to them. They have way more drama to them. They have
Yes.
way more story to them.
More substance.
So, I mean, that's something that we're trying to do a lot of too. Even with I'll Take Your Dad, it has a lot more substance than some of our
That's
other
awesome.
films.
That's awesome.
And even with the new one that we're doing, it's like, it's almost like just a thriller. It's almost just a thriller, but it's got some horror elements to it. You know, it opens up the market for us a little bit too. And it, you know, it just, we get to spread our wings, and, you know, that way, you know, it's like, as we slowly, you know, open our toolbox to more things, it just gives us more options to kind of, you know, go out there in the world.
And to
Perfect.
explore. Yeah, I think, you never know. They say never say never. You might be doing the Golden Girls reboot.
Who knows?
You just never know, right?
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
Amazing.
thank you very much for coming down. Can't wait to actually start. I'm gonna get on your website. I want to embrace and get that same effect with Bite, and I can't wait for other people to see.
I'll Take Your Dad.
I'll Take Your Dad coming out in the summer, right? You said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring, summer.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks very
Okay.
much. I appreciate
Amazing.
it, man.
No problem. Thank you
All
guys.
good. Yeah, it was a pleasure, dude.
Make sure to drop by next week.
Let's go.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Let's go.
It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Sentinel Security Plus. For all your premium security needs, visit sentinelsecurityplus.com. We got some questions for you.
Holla at your boy.
What do you stand for?
Hey, Constantine, it's Mike.
Hey, champ, what's going on?
I have the perfect guest for next week, Lee Baxter.
Hey, that's that visionary bloke who promotes boxing, manages and trains boxers through his Jim Hard Knocks Boxing Club.
Did you know he's on a mission to bring boxing back to its glory days?